You want it, you got it. The WNBA, Nike's making a big bet on Caitlin Clark. That's right. Nike's going to make a big bet on Caitlin Clark. You know, the WNBA is moving forward. The revenue is rising to the top. But the Nike is making a big bet on Caitlin Clark. Folks, what you got here is Nike is making a big, humongous bet on Caitlin Clark. Now, if this story, it's going to be the third part of the story I'm going to break down for you. And then after that, I'll go into the comments on the next show. But I want to break this down to you. Nike is making a tremendous, huge bet on Caitlin Clark. And it took me a moment to figure it out. Obviously, it's been a while since I made a 180-degree U-turn, right? Where I went in and I said, Caitlin Clark is better served by one of the smaller brands, rightfully so. And then I didn't stop there. I dug down a little deeper. And then I was able to uncover the corporate plan of what Nike is prepared to do, and the game plan has changed, and it's changed a whole lot. Now let's get into it. Nike wants Caitlin Clark to not be the face of the franchise. If you've never seen Billions, folks, I'll take you to Billions real quick. Bobby Axelrod, you got to figure out what's in play before it's in play, and that's what Money Mike's going to do for you today. I'm going to show you what's in play. And you got Bill Elliott, tell you Nike's was taking a loss, took you to Wall Street yesterday. And I want to bring you back home because this story here is bigger. Here's the game plan for Caitlin Clark, and this is a huge game plan. This one here is a huge game plan. Now, let's take a look at the revenue. I want to take you to the global revenue of Adidas, Nike, Puma, all the way 226, 223, and they don't have 224 that's rolled in, right? But when you look at this, I want to look at the trajectory that Nike has been on. I mean, Nike has really been extremely successful. Okay, I mean, going 223, $47.78 billion in revenue, right? And you got to look at who's running behind that. I mean, you're going to go in there and you're going to fall back where Adidas kind of hit some choppy ground. They're kind of falling down. They came in at $21 billion. Next, you're going to have Puma coming in there, finished up at 8.6. And those are the 223. We haven't got the 224 numbers. Now, let me show you a couple other things. I want to bring you up to date. In 223, Nike revenue was $200 million associated with the WNBA. The WNBA's revenue was a total of $200 million, right? And when you look at this and you may wave the magic wand in 2024, the WNBA revenue just went to $1 billion. Now, we haven't even finished, but this is a projection, okay, that's coming out of Deloitte that's going to give you the forecast for 224. What are the WNBA and what's the revenue, right? Because they're looking at $1 billion. So everything's kind of changed. And you look at this and you say, okay, this is because Caitlin Clark. Well, no doubt it is because of Caitlin Clark. And everybody tries to avoid that issue. And for whatever reason, I really don't know why everybody wants to avoid Caitlin Clark's name or anything that's being said, because this one here, I'm going to take you, it's going to be bigger. And folks, Indiana Fever and to the WNBA players and everybody associated, here's Nike's game plan. Nike is not looking for Caitlin to be the face of the WNBA. I repeat, Nike's not looking for Caitlin to be the face of the WNBA. Here's what Nike is looking to do. Nike is looking for Caitlin Clark to be the actual face of women's sports, global women's sports. I'm going to put you in billions. I always tell you, if you want to enjoy a little bit of financial and what's in play, you got to look at billions, okay? Let me show you what Bill Elliott has done. And how did he do all this? I have no idea, but it all fell into place because you get all these guys in the room, right? So you got to look at something with Nike. Nike's almost too big to fail, right? I mean, let's put it in perspective. They're too big to fail. They're a behemoth ship. They're bigger than the Titanic ship, and they're too big to fail. And what do I mean that? When you get everybody, Elliott Scott, when you get Bezos in the room, right, and you got that partnership, you got Adam Silver, you start getting these guys in the room, and you got Kathy Engelbert's in there and Bloomberg. I told you, WNBA has got Wall Street's coming. I told you that a long time ago when I first started covering the WNBA that Wall Street was on the way. Okay, now you got your distribution with CEO coming in there, Foot Locker, right? So you got these things that are going, and you got to really understand this changes the game right here because when you look at Foot Locker and what's going on and what their CEO's doing, you got to look at Mary Dillon. Mary Dillon's ready to sell some shoes, folks. I'm going to tell you, and it came across what was really really enjoyable was the fact when you listen to the analysts and you look at the Nike as a conglomerate and what has happened. You got Caitlin Clark when everything rolls out. You got the distribution. Foot Locker says we're ready to go. And if you notice in the conversation, she said we just released the Kobe shoe, right? So they're in place. And then you got CEO John Stanky. Now I haven't seen this many CEOs in the room since Lehman Brothers, right? I mean, you put it all in perspective. You got John Stakey in the room. You got Adam Silver in the room. Okay, you got Robert Eigner, Disney in the room. You're putting all these people in the room, and they're putting them in the room for one reason. And I put my, Bobby Axide on, and I looked at it, and I look at John Stanky. And at the end of the day, I got to ask John Stanky this question. Money Mike. I mean, I'm retired from AT&T, but when's Caitlin Clark going to start doing the AT&T commercials, right? Because Caitlin Clark is designed, folks, not to be the face of the WNBA. Okay, let me put that in perspective. The revenue of the WNBA is too small. It's too small. It's too small. So now, but when you look at Caitlin, they're looking at Caitlin being the face of global women's sports. So you're gonna have to get in there. We're gonna get in the room, and you can decide who you want it to be. It could be Juju Watkins. It could be Angel Reese. I mean, you really can pick who you want to be the face of the WNBA because Caitlin Clark's not here to be the face of the WNBA. Caitlin Clark is here to be the face of global women's sports. Team USA will be the biggest event ever, women's basketball, in the United States Olympics that will be hosted in Los Angeles, California. Juju Watkins has been selected, who's going to be in Los Angeles, California. And you have Angel Reese, who is going to work tremendously hard. And I'm going to feature a story on Angel Reese because to Angel Reese, okay, and all of her corporate sponsors, it's extremely important for her to be on that Team USA Olympic team, right? So they're moving this forward, and this is what I've discovered, folks. The WNBA has come to Wall Street. And when you come to Wall Street, folks, you get the analysts, you got the partners, you got the money. The key thing here is the money. And there's not enough money in the WNBA, okay, for Wall Street. Let me be perfectly honest with you there. When you look at the numbers, okay, and you look at now they moved to $1 billion in revenue, there's no doubt about it. But when you look at these numbers, folks, I really just got to tell you, you can't find, okay, these kind of numbers when you got somebody doing this many billions of dollars, right? We're talking about billions of dollars, and you're talking about Kathy Engelbert, who's moving this needle. This is not about Caitlin Clark being the face of the WNBA. This is about Caitlin Clark being the face of the actual global women's sports. And that's why you're starting to see Caitlin Clark being featured across the NFL, being featured also across golf, Nike, LPGA. What does that mean when you're the face of global women's sports? Golf is a global game. Caitlin Clark can have her entire golf line. Caitlin Clark is also going to be over there in NASCAR. There's a car driven. This is being the face of global women's sports. Okay, the Indianapolis 500. There's multiple cross selling that's going on with Caitlin Clark, And this is not about Caitlin Clark, right? Being the face of the WNBA. This is now moved forward to Caitlin Clark being the face of global women's sports for Nike. Okay, the distribution has to be in place. That's where Foot Locker stepped up. You talk about Nike, Phil Elliott. Okay, this one here is we're going all in on Caitlin Clark, all in on Caitlin Clark. And you got Bill Elliott pulled all of these CEOs together behind Caitlin Clark to make her the face of women's sports in the United States, whether it's soccer, whether it's softball, whether it's AAU, whether it's leadership, whether it's cheerleading, it doesn't matter across the board in apparel. Nike, Caitlin Clark is going to lead that charge. And Wall Street is coming behind Caitlin Clark. So Caitlin Clark has now been elevated to be on the WNBA. And this is a fascinating experience because when I made the U turn, and I said, I looked at it and I said, well, maybe she'd be better suited by a smaller brand. I did the research. I looked at the collective group that are investors are in behind it. And folks, I'm going to tell you something here in life. And a lot of times there's experience where you can be involved with individuals where you are too big to fail. And what does that mean? What does that really mean? When you take Elliot, who's moved into the room, and he's brought Bezos in the room, right? And you got coming in there, well, you got Kathy Egerberts there at Bloomberg. She's spending a lot of time at Wall Street. And folks, the money is boiling over, okay, in the stock market. It's going to have to contract itself. And what it usually happens at, you got a total housing rental market. I can tell you everything that's going to happen because when you're dealing with CEOs, you got to understand how do they look at the future? They are not planning for today. They are planning for the future. Kathy Egelford has went in there, found the resources. Now, I'll tell you something, folks. You talk about women in power. You talk about women CEOs in power. Women don't need any help, first of all. Okay. I mean, when you look at the men, every one of these CEOs has very powerful individual women who are outstanding at what they do. You could find outstanding women that could run this project. They're going to be at Amazon. They're definitely in the NBA and the WNBA. They're definitely in there at Foot Locker. Okay, they're definitely, because I do know this firsthand, there are powerful women at AT&T that can run this ship. And Adam Silver, I mean, you got some of the most talented women talent to take Caitlin Clark global. Now you got Caitlin Clark. Where are you going to be? I'm going to be at Disney World. I mean, there's no doubt about it, folks. This is a rollout for global women's sports. Nike is going to have Caitlin Clark be the face, and the partnerships are in place. Bobby Axel, I'll take you. What's in play? Folks, if you look at this as a collective stock group, I'll tell you something. I'm not sitting here giving advice, sitting here with a Series 7 and telling you what to do. I'm telling you, if you follow the money and you follow Caitlin Clark, and everybody is getting involved with Caitlin Clark. Now, here's what's got to happen. Okay, and always remember this, and you'll remember this for a lifetime. Wherever there's a McDonald's, there's always going to be a Burger King, right? Okay, so let's consider Caitlin Clark the McDonald's. Okay, and the only thing that has to happen is what you got Juju, you got Paige Buchers, you got Angel Reese. I can go on and on and on. All you got to do is pull up next to the store. You don't really have to do much, right? And here's where you learn in NASCAR, right? If for those of you guys who follow NASCAR and you follow it, here's what the WNBA players, here's where Money Mike's saying here. Caitlin Clark's going to be the global face of women's sports. Now, whoever's going to be the global face of the WNBA, okay, they're going to have two, but Caitlin's going to move on out of this. She's going to move on up the tier. Whoever's going to be the WNBA face of women's basketball, all you have to do is draft. If you don't know what draft means in NASCAR, that means that when you get behind somebody, it's really simple. Go look it up. It's the best trade that you could ever do. It means you don't have to do any of the work. Right now, I'll give you an example. Aaliyah Boston is just drafting behind Caitlin Clark. So now, anybody, Kelsey Mitchell on the Indiana Fever, they don't have to do any work. They just have to draft.
okay, behind Caitlin Clark, which means you just get behind the car that's leading the pack, and they're going to do all the work for you. One, they're going to save your tires is one thing because you're just coasting along. It's not any work. So you got to know that, and it really is huge when it comes to how you do corporate enterprise business. And when you have somebody that they're making the face, okay, this is going to turn in Global Women's Sports will now have Caitlin Clark's picture on there. There's no doubt about it. You got Phil Knight still in there, and you got Elliott's running it, and they got a team, and they are a huge, huge. When I looked at it, I said, man, you know what? You got the WNBA revenue. Nike does $51 billion they're projecting. I can't even find $200 million on the balance sheet. I mean, if you could point out $200 million, and if you get in the meeting, I mean, you got to understand, if you get in the meeting with Nike and you come up with a project for $200 million, you keep bugging everybody about this $200 million, they're going to look at you like, would you please stop? You got to stop, right? And you got to know that at the end of the day, this is bigger. Now, I had to go back and I looked at Inescu and I said, why did she sell so many shoes? Let me tell you, I thought it was global. You know where she went? She went to OU, Oregon, right? You went to Oregon. So when you get a machine and it's able to be placed behind you, you get Kathy Engelbert working day and night. Okay. Now here's the deal. I did 180-degree because all the money's been put behind her now. All the money is going behind Caitlin Clark to go global. Okay. And they could have had a head start on this with Team USA and they kind of rejected it, which was not a good thing to do. But you're talking about Caitlin Clark going global on Team USA, right? And you're coming to the US with all the investors that are coming because what is the Olympics? Okay, what is the World Cup? It's a business meeting. It's a business meeting. You're going to get all the global partners throughout the world going to get a chance to meet. They're going to get a chance to sit down. And I'm telling you, folks, this one here is huge because the money has went behind Caitlin Clark. And when they put enough money behind, you're too big to fail. What does that mean? Okay, now, does she have to achieve as much as Tiger? No, but she's going on that landscape. And man, it's a landscape that is way above any sports league. You talk about the revenue of golf, how it changed, and how it was able to really grow the game of golf when Tiger Woods became Nike's global golf ambassador around the world. It's changing the world. And that's what his father was, a colonel in the military. And man, the Patriots of America, the Team USA is so crucial to the global market that now Team USA has to build it out correctly. We got a black eye in the last Olympics. We cannot afford that again, and the partners and the chains and everything is opening up now to where we can do this. Is she going to be as big as Michael Jordan? I don't know. Does she have more money going behind her than Michael Jordan? Yes, she does. And folks, that changes things. That not only one of the things you got to understand about corporate America, and I understand it well, when they do or have any rollout or anything like that, they're going to lose a lot of money. The goal of the actual operation with efficiency is after it gets rolled out. So when I looked at Kate and Clark and I said, man, okay, if you want to sell as many shoes as you possibly can for Caitlin Clark, folks, let me just tell you, you know how much distribution you need for that? You know how much distribution that you need. Let me give you an example. If Caitlin sells 10 million shoes, do you know how much distribution? Do you know how much jet inventory, just in time inventory? Do you know that is a massive undertaking to hit a button? This is not hitting a button for a basketball like you're doing with Wilson. It's just a rubber basketball. This has to go across the globe, okay? And you've got to have a partner that can actually do the distribution and actually has the ability to take it to the future. That's why Amazon is so important. This thing here is going to grow bigger than ever. And you know what? Part of what I do, always tell you it's my opinion. I follow the money. I really don't get to bashing players or looking at it if the attendance off. You know, I got to go in there and I can tell you where the attendance off. I got some great stories coming because I got Candace Parker who's doing some amazing work. You also got you got the New York Liberty. The governor over there is doing some just outstanding work of what the Liberty have done in the WNBA. Not only solidify themselves as the WNBA champions, but also they're an organization of performance and efficiency, and their numbers and results and revenue show it. They were an organization that prepared for this moment, and that's why I believe the Liberty have a great opportunity to three-peat. Now, I'll break it down to you. You know, this is a great story. Caitlin Clark will be the face of global women's sports throughout the world. That's how big this project is, and there's enough going behind it. I'll tell you, when I put it all together, I'll do it one way or the other way. And that's the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast way. I got my Billions hat on. Bill Ellett, what did he do? He got them all in the room. And they're too big to fail now. Caitlin Clark's going to be the global face of women's sports. You got Amazon, Jeff Bezos on board. Kathy Engelbert been working day and night. You got Foot Locker ready to deliver whatever Nike has. And we're ready to be the partner. We've worked it out. You got John Stanky. You know what I asked John? One AT&T man to another AT&T man. When is Caitlin Clark going to start doing the AT&T wireless commercials? Let's get that moving, John Stanky. Adam Silver, man, oh man, this is better than Lehman Brothers. You got them all in there at one time. And I'm telling you, these are some heavy hitters. Robert Iger might step away, but today he's got business. The Axelrod, stop it. The insider trading, it's moving, and now you got to pick a new face of the WNBA. Is it going to be Paige Buchers, who I do not have photo? Is it going to be Juju? Is it going to be Angel Reese? Or who's the new face of the WNBA going to be when Caitlin Clark moves on up to be the face of Nike Global Women's Sports? That's what's going on. I told you Wall Street was coming to the WNBA and the money's arrived. But one thing Wall Street works off of is strictly off of efficiencies and a performance. We give you money for the sole purpose, not of emotion, not of your projects or campaign. We give you money, Kathy Engelbert, for the sole purpose of making money. And Angel Reese, you got Hollywood, but Angel Reese wants bad on Team USA, so she's going to work. The best job I had at AT&T, and I did it for years, and I enjoyed it after 20 years of service, was just hosting clients in the suite. There's something about hosting clients in the suite. Let me tell you why. You get to see the game. You get to talk about business opportunities. And I loved hosting my clients at the Giants, the A's, the Kings. That was the favorite part. But here's the deal. You got Nike Global Women's Sports. Caitlin Clark does like Bo. We do the NFL. Caitlin Clark can have a golf line. Caitlin Clark can have a NASCAR line. Nike's women fashion. Nike Women's Global Sports. It's all about fashion. The game is changing. You got Phil Knight, Bill Elliott, great work. No doubt about it. You've got your star. You've got America's favorite corporate enterprise dream. And that's going to be like Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan. It is what it is. Kathy, we salute you. And what's the WNBA revenue going to be in 224? $1 billion. Imagine that. You put a 5X multiple on that, and you're starting to make a little money. And again, this is the Money Mike Syndicated Radio Podcast. It's my opinion, but we'll always tell you this. If it turns the truth, I've given you the facts before it happens. We'll see you soon.